that OJ though. All right, what's up guys? William Mosley here from Creators with Kids, and today I'm going to be going over my process, pretty much how I do promotions, my story, what did I do, where did I come from, all that stuff. And if you're watching on Facebook, what's up? You'll also be able to see the film as it comes out. And like you guys probably already know, like I'm doing this at like 2 a.m. It's actually 3 a.m. in the morning. So no excuses. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna pretty much create this entire film right here, chop it up into micro pieces of content like I've been talking about on Real Will, so that I can pretty much distribute it throughout the month. Fix this a little bit. That looks good. If you have questions, you know, you can go to Ask Will or hashtag Ask Will Mosley, or, you know, whenever I do this Facebook stuff, you can ask there. So I'm gonna take you way back. I've explained a little bit about this before, but here it is again. So how did I become a creative director? Like, how did I end up in the position I'm at? Did I always want to be a creative director? The short answer is no. I started out my journey pretty much just like wanting to be an artist. I wanted to, like, woo, look at that wash. All right, Facebook, you're just gonna have to auto and be if you wash out, because I don't want to interrupt my video. Come on now. It's like on an autofocus or whatever. Where it's like washes out every 2 seconds. So did I know that I wanted to be a creative director when I first started? Hell no. I thought that I wanted to be like an artist. I wanted to draw, I wanted to paint. Like, I started out my, you know, really my career, like, just doing fine art, like, and doing that. And I didn't really think I can make money, you know, doing art, design, stuff like that. But I pretty much had my first Art 4 AP class in high school, which really drove me to concentrate on like being more strategic with art, which kind of, if you think about design as it reflects, that's kind of how it goes. And so once I got out of college, So once I got out of high school, I wrote about this, or I made a film about this. I don't know if it got deleted or if I posted it, but like while everyone was getting scholarships, everyone was just like doing their thing. Like I felt like a piece of shit pretty much, because I had no clue what to do. I didn't have a college I was going to. I was pretty much working a dead-end job at Zaxby's, and like while all my friends like got up and they were like doing their thing, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna go have fun, we're gonna go get dorms, we're gonna go do whatever, I was just like stuck back at home, like having no path and no guidance. Grew up poor, you know, never had a lot, so it was never really, there was no one to really look up to as far as like college went. But I really thought college was the absolute answer. And I'll give you like a quick like disclaimer. I'm big against college, and if you don't know why, go back to Creators with Kids 2, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But just know that like college was the only path and the only answer for me, and I had no clue how to get in. I didn't make good grades, you know. I had like a GPA of two. I don't even know, man. Like I was like a B/C student, and then like science, all that stuff was horrible. Excuse me. So when I finally got to college, I finally decided, okay, man, I'm gonna make this happen. I went to this like really sketchy high school or college that I thought was like top notch at the time. It was like called High Tech Institute. Turns out the school like got like discredited pretty much, but I didn't know that going there. I went there, did what most people do, take out like a student loan, and just like got further and further in debt. You know what I mean? And like I didn't feel like I was learning anything. I was taking all sorts of core classes. And I finally stumbled upon this one design class, this one class that I was like, wow, like it woke me up. Like I saw the book. I don't have a physical book with me. It's kind of crazy in today's age, but I literally opened the book and turned to like this like lingerie ad or whatever. It was like a three-part ad. And I saw how it was so simple, and I was still like I was in minimalism at the time still. Like I don't even know if I knew what the term was, but I knew that it was simple. And I loved how they were able to take 3 different ads and make them cohesive to help you want to buy something. And that was it. That's what did it for me. So that's how I got started essentially in the design field. Now, that was the idea. You know, I talk a lot about execution, about just doing it instead of like thinking about it. And I really thought I was top shit. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna change the world with this. I got this. This is amazing. And I had no clue what I was doing. My first logo was like JPEG, like it was like JPEG Studios or something stupid like that. But the key is that I found a purpose, a way I can use my art, and there was a way to make income from it. Now, the part that no one told me was like, it's hard as fuck out in the world. It's hard to do what you want to do, being a creative, especially 10 years ago. Like the path was, you should do accounting, you should do something that's going to make you money. Yeah, that's great that you like to design or that you like to whatever, but that's not really going to make you a lot of money. So you need to figure out that can be your minor or that can be your major, but you need to minor in something that's going to be lucrative. And I don't even remember what minor I decided to pick, but that's kind of how I started. Long story long, like I had a slew of dead-end jobs, just like working 80 hours a week, and I'm being dead ass serious, like working, you know, I remember this is when I thought I was going crazy, when I thought I had it hard and turned out I didn't have it hard. I would work Grand Bohemian in the morning, right? I'd do like I think it was like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. This is all while Eden's my firstborn. He was maybe a year at the time. I can't remember the exactly the age, but I was working Grand Bohemian in the morning from like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then I'd get off and I'd rush over to Zaxby's and I'd work from 5 a.m. till like 11 p.m. and I'd get home and my son was asleep. Do you know how that feels if you're a parent and you work from the time before your kid wakes up to the time they go to sleep for 6 days straight? You know how shitty that feels? That's what I was struggling with. That's what I was dealing with. And not only that, I was also freelancing. I was also trying to figure out a way to scrape by and turn my passion into something that could get me out of this shithole, right? I've always been self-taught. I've always taken that time to like go to Barnes & Noble. This is where you go to when you used to go to Barnes & Noble. Go to Barnes & Noble, read every design book I could find, every web book I could find. This is when they wrote web books. Like you'd literally be looking at the book going back and forth. So it's crazy to me. It's so crazy to me. And that was when I pretty much made the biggest mistake of my life, because I really thought I had it so hard, and it turned out I didn't have it hard. And I think this is what allowed me to get to where I needed to be. Because when you're a parent, I mean, you have to step up and you have to be that, you have to make shit happen. There's nothing else you can do about it. Like when you don't have a kid, you don't have a partner, you don't have whatever, you can, if you want to move in with some roommates, you want to do whatever, you can get cheap rent, you can do that stuff. But when you have kids, you've got a responsibility. And this is probably the biggest mistake I feel like I made almost in my life. This is when we were, Laura was pregnant with King, and I was like, let's move to Kentucky. Let's make this happen. Let's move to Kentucky. There's so much cheap rent there, etc., whatever. And like, I literally pretty much took our family. Oh, don't go off on me. Stay up Facebook Live. I hope that didn't change anything. Dope. I literally like moved to Kentucky with like $0 to like $25. I don't even know, $50 in my pocket, and just like put us in a crazy financial crisis because I was trying to get a job at the factory. Like a kid was being born. Do you know what it feels like to not be like the person that like, do you really know what it feels like to have like that entire weight on you? Like my wife was pregnant, we were about to have the baby a month later, like in another state, and I had no job, no car, no like nothing, like no house, like I was living with friends. I've been in that situation several times, and what you learn is, one, never get too comfortable, never ever get too comfortable. You have to be humble always, and this is what that taught me, and I think this is why I have the drive that I have today. What I was dealing with, even though like that sob story about Grand Bohemian and Zaxby's and working, freelancing or whatever, not seeing my kid, that was nothing in hell compared to the experience that I had in Kentucky. And if you're wondering a little bit about that, it might be like season 1 that I talk about the worst experience of my life or whatever, or it's also in the podcast, Kids and Marriage podcast, somewhere in there. So if you want more information about that. But guess what? When I finally got back home, like we finally had King, right? And I was going back to Kentucky, and I was like, look, I just had my baby. They were like, look, dude, you're fired. And like, even though I had requested off time, I had like gotten it approved. And I was like, if I have to start over, I'm starting back over in Asheville. And that was the mind shift. It was like, I almost lost everything and I have to restart over again. So let's boss up and make it happen. That's what I did. I took some crappy, horrible factory job that made me feel like I was gonna go insane. I understand why people go insane in factories, but I kept my head down low and did what I had to do to supply for my family first. I had to take the design, like all the design ambitions and all that stuff, I had to put that to the side for a minute. Like I had to work 12 hours a day nonstop, and that's what you do. That's what you if you have to do that for your family, you make it happen. And then you keep your sanity by doing your passion on the side. But my mind was this, and like, let me make enough money to be able to move out of this place. Like I was living with my mom-in-law at the time, you know what I mean? Like, you know how shitty that feels? But I was humbled by that entire experience. We ended up getting a place, moving in, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. And I took a job, I decided, I had it in my mindset. I think that's also part of it, the energy behind it, is I was so tired of this factory job, but I needed to make sure that I could make a leap. So I ended up going to Starbucks the next day. I was like, look, I need a job. I know Starbucks. I know how to do this. I can make this happen for you. Let's do it, right? And literally that day, got hired on the spot. And if you're ever in a bind, and I don't know what it is, maybe it's just me, but if you're ever in a bind, always start over with Starbucks. Go to Starbucks. There's just something about the community, and you're able to, I feel like it's a good bounce board to get to a career that you're wanting to be in or get hired or whatever. Because I went to Starbucks, and I take it that, think about this though. Even though I've been going through these shit ass jobs nonstop, kid being born, all that stuff, I've always been doing my passion, always been doing my passion maybe it's a couple hours at night, maybe it's a couple hours in the morning, maybe it's like I've always been doing that. And so it's crazy to me when when people are like, oh, you don't have college experience, or you don't have whatever. I have life experience. I've been doing this every day in and day out, and that's the hard part sometimes, because people think that a certificate or a degree shows that you know what you're talking about. But I'd fucking much rather see your work than see a degree. If I'm going to get a tattoo, a degree, whatever, okay, I want to see your work. I want to see what you've done. I want to see like the people that you've tatted up. I want to see your films. I don't want to see a degree. You know, a degree shows me that, you know, you survived college. That's it. So I ended up getting a job at Starbucks, doing my thing, and loved that place. Like, you know, got escalated to general manager. Sorry. Ooh, Lordy. Got escalated to general manager. All was good. And then life, I thought everything was going great. Preach, man, preach. Thought everything was going great. This is what happens this is how life happens, and you have to be ready for it. Everything was going great. They were giving me non-stop hours. I was making 40 plus hours. Customers loved me. I was in the greatest position ever. And then it happened. The transmission on the Honda Odyssey goes out, right? Like, just completely gone. And luckily I was on a bus line, so I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I can take the bus. I'm humble. I don't care. Like, I've taken the bus plenty of times. I can do it. But the guy above me, he wasn't about that life. He was like, look, I was like, look, I can work, you know, your mid shift. I can work whatever it is you need me in between. And I do blame him, but I actually don't blame him at the same time. I understand the availability thing, but like, he didn't want to work at all with my schedule, period. I was like, look, I can make 30 hours. And you know, when you're a parent and you get cut down to 20 hours, you put in good work, but 20 hours, you can't survive off 20 hours. I was making $10 at the time, you know, which was still like, I was happy with $10 because it was something. It was better. I was working at the factory for like $10 or whatever. So I was mad happy to make coffee for $10 and chill and do my thing and just be happy with that. But when you're cut down to 20 hours, that's 20 hours. You can't feed a family off 20 hours. So you have to get in grind mode. You have to do something. And that's what I had to do. And people wonder, like, they look at like where I'm at right now and they're like, how the fuck did you get there? A lot of it is lining up the chance of some sort of opportunity opening up and you hustling for all of your fucking life. Like, I've been doing design and web and all that stuff this whole time, underlying all these tones, so I'm ready for when an opportunity opens up. So what happened is, I was like, okay, 20 hours. It was April. I was like, 20 hours, I'm gonna make this happen. I was like, by the end of the month, I'm gonna get a job that pays me $50K. I don't give a fuck. I'm making this happen. This is me. I'm making it happen. And it was ambitious, but I think it was also the mindset. And it's also like being a dad, being a mom, all that. You do whatever you have to. So what I did was I ended up going into this is how I've found a lot of my jobs, weirdly enough. Like, I went into Craigslist, I wrote out like entirely like my skill set, what I can do, how much I want to get paid, all that stuff. I won't share what I got hired on at and all that stuff, but know that it was enough to feed my family. So kind of going back to putting in those apps, I literally copied and pasted like this thing into like, I don't even know, like 50 Craigslist postings, just all local. And remember, my transmission still was gone. It was dead, man. So it was crazy. So I didn't have any car. I was kind of stuck in the house, like no money, figuring out what the hell to do. And somehow something aligned in the universe, and this is how sometimes jobs work. This is how it doesn't. That's why it doesn't always matter about like you having a college degree or whatever. I know plenty of people that have college degrees that just they have the college degree and then they have to go work, be a waiter or be whatever it is, which is completely opposite of their degree, which is okay if they have to do that, but it just sucks to think like I spent 6 years of my life trying to make it in school, and then I kind of get back to where I'm at. I digress. I got got an email back or whatever from New Human, and this is how New Human happened. This is how I kind of ended up exactly in my position right here. And take it that I've had before New Human, I had another. Already had another fall as well. Like I had worked at King Bio previously or whatever, and like did the whole design thing. So I had like some sort of experience working with teams, and I think that's really important. Like when you're designing, when you're doing this, there's a huge shift between I and team, and learning how those work. It's critical. It's very, very important for you to understand like how to work with teams. So I understood all that. I had all my design stuff, I had all my web stuff, everything. I get the email and they're like, hey, look, we want to do a phone interview with you. Did the phone interview and just like crushed it, because I needed that. I knew what I want. I knew what I was doing. I knew the skill set. Don't apply for a job that you don't know what you're doing. It's gonna come out. You're gonna see it. Don't fake it till you make it. 2, it aligned with what they needed. And 3, like I set myself apart by being a web developer, graphic designer. This is before me thinking about being creative director. And companies are saving money by hiring someone to do the position of 2 roles: web development, graphic design. 1 second. So it was a no-brainer. We meshed immediately, and I may have missed the boat with New Human if I didn't do this. And this is all credit to Laura, my wife, right? So I get off the phone with New Human. I'm like, okay, great, boss, I'm ready for this. They're like, when can we interview? When can we see you? And they're all the way out in Brevard. It's an hour away. Transmission's out in the car. So I'm like, let's do it Thursday. I figure I can get a ride. I can figure out something by Thursday, get out Thursday, do that, whatever. And I tell Laura about like the interview and the experience and how happy I was and like all that. And she's like, Will, you need to call them back today and tell them that you can interview today. And I'm like, but the card's broken. She's like, I don't care. Like you need to make something happen, because what happens if time goes by and they find someone else within those 2 days? That opportunity's gone. I was like, Laura, you're right. And hell, she was right. So I ended up calling my foster parents, letting them know the situation, and just made it happen. I called them back. I was like, look, I can actually interview today. I'll make this happen for you. That's how serious I am. And that showed the motive, that showed the drive. And long story short, ended up with a position at New Human. I crushed the interview because I had examples of my work. I had all sorts of things. Like I've done like I've been putting in the work, I've been grinding. Instead of like showing a degree, I showed like I knew what I was talking about, and that's important. I doubt you can see half of any of this on the Facebook screen at all, because it's like washed out on there. It's like half washed, half not. But I've done like so many. I don't want to ruin these either, trying to flip through these fast, but I've done, this is doubled up. I've done like all sorts of flyer design, like all that stuff is just whatever. That's how I ended up with my position at New Human. Bouse. What's up, bro? I'm gonna digress from that, but I didn't even consider myself still a creative director then. Like I thought, I knew that and this is important for your title too, I knew that I still needed to understand filming in my mind to be a creative director. And so if when you ask me what I did, I always would say I'm a full stack developer, graphic designer. And it wasn't until I learned filmmaking right here that I decided that I was ready to take on that position as creative director, like the role, the title. They're like, what do you want to be called, Will? I'm like, creative director. And they're like, okay, you sure? I'm like, yeah, dope. And it didn't start out like with them trusting my judgment, but at a company, I think I talk about this in Real Will or something, I don't know. But you just, little by little. Now, let's get on with, that's my story. That's how I kind of got to where I'm at. This is me in love with my job. This is me in love with my passion. You can't do something every single day that you hate. I hate it. So let's get on with the questions. All right, this is for Ask Will Mosley. Let me see if I'm going to try to get on the Facebook screen, and I'm going to get on the regular screen if I can focus that in. How to create a promotion. And boss up. I'm glad you're doing that, or I'm glad you're doing that edit, man. Like, I know how that is for real. Creating a promotion. I don't know if you guys have dealt with scope creep or just clients that just change everything nonstop, whatever. But after a while, I finally got in tune with a way to create a promotional schedule that fit the needs of the client, the holidays, and aligned with what I use and what I do. So I'm going to explain the tools that I use, and then I'm going to explain like a tidbit of my promotional stuff, because I think I talked a good bit about that in a previous episode. I can't remember, but here is the promotional schedule deep dive in 2 minutes. Let's try 2 minutes. All right, ready? Alexa. Oh, Alexa's not plugged up. Sorry, Alexa. Think of promotions. You create 8 promotions a year. Every year there are 4 quarters. So if you divide those 4 quarters into 2, you have pretty much 8 promotions. One starting from January 1 to February 14th, from February 15th to March 31st, April 1st to May 15th, and so on and so forth. And a lot of times those align with holidays, like, you know, Christmas and stuff like that. That's how I divide my stuff up. It gives you like a 6-week bracket of what you, of time to work on. And you can tell the client that. You're like, hey, look, I want to work on 4 things in this next month and a half. Or you can even say a month. You can be like a month, and then, or a month, and you can say, I want to work on 4 things in this next month and a half. I want to kind of try to make it happen a little bit quicker than that, but let's aim for 6 weeks. You pick 2, 3, 4 things that are important to them, and that's the cats in the background. If you hear that, that's whatever. You do that. You list it out, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know that I've talked about this in the previous episode, so go back to a previous Creatives with Kids. And you just divide it out. I hear a click. It might be King. Kid might be waking up. Sorry, distracted. And because you have 6-week promotions, you have a restart, you have a refresh every single time. What I use, like how I create a promotion, like a newsletter, all that stuff. This is that kind of traditional way, because I'm actually doing a brand new way. We have 10% on the phone, and the camera decided to have a clip. So I'm gonna start the camera back over for a second, and I'll wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap this up in about 5-10 minutes, because I don't want this dying. So thank you, whoever showed me love. I see you, bro. I see you. Reset, promotion, 6-week schedule. 6 weeks. What I use? Okay. So what happens is I'll start backwards. I'll start with the newsletter. So I'll start in MailChimp. What's up, bro? Reno. I'll start in MailChimp, right? They'll be like, oh man, we really want to release this product. We really want to talk about this event. We really want to let them know about this educational thing that we're doing. And I'll pretty much list that out in the newsletter and work backwards from that. Because it gives me and this is like week 5. If you, like I said, promotional schedule, go back to Creatives with Kids, it was like 5 or 4. I talk in depth about how to get there. But on the end level of this, how I release it and what I use, I'll use MailChimp, kind of put that stuff out there, like it listed out. And then from there, because you have to connect all the things, it forces you to go back to the website, it forces you to go back to the event page, it forces you to go back to whatever it is that you're working on and make sure those things work and those things hook in to those. A lot of times it means creating a flyer. I use Illustrator. Illustrator, I preach by Illustrator. If you are new to the design field and you're thinking about using Photoshop, I hear pitter-patter footsteps. I hear them. I hear them. I don't know if they're gonna come out here or not. We'll see. If you're new to the design field, definitely use Illustrator first. Photoshop, I'm not gonna hate on Photoshop, but Photoshop is not my cup of tea. I feel like you can do much more in Illustrator, and it's logos, flyers, ads, everything you can think about, and you can export it to. So that's what I used for any of my assets. I use Adobe Stock for any of my stock images. I was using iStock, which is just tremendously expensive. So I was happy to kind of save the company a little bit of money by switching over to Adobe Stock. And I use about, for like flyers that I do, I use about 2 to 3 stock photos each one. The important thing to think about, and I talked a little bit about this previous, is just to think about the end objective, the end goal. So if you're talking about, and try to diversify too. So one back. To this guy, like this guy is for our Silicore flyer, like, so you can see how you diversify, you know, the family up here, all that stuff. I don't know, I'll explain a little bit more about how I think about like the how I do the assets, but like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up in about 5 minutes. Doing it backwards that way keeps me in front of the goal, because the newsletter goes out to the customer, and you know that if you work backwards and you've set up the landing page, you've set up the sales page, you've set up the flyers, you've done all that stuff, you can just plug it into MailChimp and do that. If you want more information on that, just ask me, I'll let you know. All right, this is very quickly the stack. This is going from design world to web world. So if you're a web developer, I think you'll appreciate this. When I was first starting out, trying to understand the web, all that stuff, I went traditionally like with GoDaddy and stuff like that. I didn't understand, you know, a server. I didn't understand what type, all these services that you use. So this is kind of like what I use and why. Excuse me. I use DigitalOcean. Here's that focus. DigitalOcean right there for my server. Reason why, it scales. It scales to the sky, and you can get space for super cheap. OJ. What's a server? I think if you're a web developer, you know what a server is. But if you think about, if you're not a developer, if you have your house, say this is your house, you got Alexa for your house, your server is the land that your house rests on, like the property. So you pay someone, let me just put that right there, you pay someone rent for that land if you're thinking about this as a house. And not get out of order. So I use DigitalOcean. I will probably go into a deep dive into DigitalOcean later. After the land that you rent, if you think about the utilities, like the electricity that hooks up into the land, I use a LAMP setup. That stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. Let's put that up there too so you can see it. What all that means is it's like the foundation, the underworkings of that land to be able to hook up to that house to make it work. like I said, I'll go into a deeper dive of LAMP, but that's what I use for all my setups. You could also use WAMP, MAMP, all that. So once I have the LAN, the server, and the LAMP, so the Linux Apache, and I use CentOS 7, PHP 7, if you're wondering about that. And this could be for a small, tiny website, or this could be for $1 million store, which is what I use specifically to be able to scale it and keep systems operating. Then I use a WHM cPanel. WHM cPanel, go on that screen. Think about your calculator. I'm gonna fucking take it back to old school, right? You can do hardcore math, right? You can just be like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 plus 5 plus 8 plus 9 plus 20 plus 80 plus divided by whatever. You could technically do that in your head, right? That's kind of like almost like hard coding and stuff like this. That's comparatively, you can be like, Alexa, what's 15 bajillion plus 8 million plus 9 plus 2 plus 8 plus whatever. You can do that with WHM and cPanel. It's kind of like your tool set. So that's what I use. That's a foundation. After that is WordPress. You guys probably have heard of WordPress. The system that does all. I love WordPress. It just does. It's like it's the same thing. It's almost like you can hard code everything, or you can just use WordPress, which manages a lot of the content. It manages everything very well. That's what these. Just one second, and go back over here to this LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. That's what WordPress is built off of. So it's required for you to create that and run that. After WordPress, which, you know, if you are a business owner or whatever, like anyone that's kind of new to the game, all that server stuff is probably like down here, but you've probably heard of WordPress. You've probably also heard of WooCommerce. That's what I use for all of our, you guys hear the toys in the background? Just going off with the cats. You've probably heard of WooCommerce as well. That's what I use for our shopping cart. It does a boss job. Now, as far as design, and this is where you set yourself apart, it used to be that you had to hard code everything, and this is why I'm so proficient with custom CSS, custom PHP, and all that stuff. Oh my god, that is so crazy. I'm telling you, toys go off randomly in the middle of the night. I use Beaver Builder to build all of my websites so that the client can edit 90% of everything, and then I go in the background and do 90% or 10% custom CSS and PHP and stuff like that. All right, let's wrap this guy up. Let's see if there's any other questions. Custom PHP. All right, very quickly. Ask Will. How can I get into a web dev position without an unrelated degree? Just go on YouTube, man. Like, YouTube the hell out of that shit. If you need to learn coding specifically, if you really need to learn like CSS, PHP, HTML, all that stuff, literally go to teamtreehouse.com and you'll be bossed up. Like, they do it right, and it's super cheap. That's my answer to that. Ask Will Mosley, why do first-time entrepreneurs find so many hidden challenges when starting a biz? Focus. There we go. Why we have so many problems like starting a business is because it's not just about your talent. It's not just about you knowing how to make action figures, or it's not just about you knowing how to, solder this or that. You have to know how to run a business, and running a business in 2019, like a brick and mortar business, is tough as shit. It's hard. Hey man, YouTube taught me more than the school. Absolutely. YouTube is college. I'm gonna put that on my tombstone. School of YouTube. So true. it's like you have to learn so much, and that's why you should be honing your craft every single day, no matter where you're at. If you're grinding, you're slaving at a dead end, or you're working, whatever, like just keep your mind sharp, and you'll know those skill sets. And then business wise, I'm going to talk a lot more about this, but things are dramatically changing for social. It used to be that social was like, yeah, it's a nice to have, and sure, we should do this. No, bitch, it is life. That is where everyone is today, period. There's no, it's like website is almost secondary now. I'm telling the absolute truth. Coming from a web developer, a print designer, website is almost secondary now. To your Facebook, to your Twitter, to your Instagram, to your Snapchat, to your every social media. It's almost like because they're monopolizing on all that, and websites themselves are going to become fewer and less. Like, I feel like there's going to be more, there'll be like dark web and all that stuff, but like, because Facebook is so respected now as a place to just do business, it's your business. A lot of times, like if you're just starting out, you don't know what you're doing, and you're like, I need a website. Maybe think again. This is coming from the web developer. Maybe think again. Grow your business, do your business on Facebook, and then do the website as an afterthought. It's the truth. Sorry, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm adjusting to the market. You got to too. Hopefully that answered that question. Ask Will Mosley, where should I learn web development? I kind of answered that too. Teamtreehouse.com. Like, seriously, look it up. The instructors are happy, nice, kind, friendly, and they do a good job. You can learn everything from PHP to how to run a business, how to write C#, how to write any type of coding you want to do. I'm not going to go into that on this right here. Creative Kids, I thought about it. I was like, maybe I should teach how to write. No. There's someone that does it better, and I just don't have the time to go with the nuances. But I'll tell you, if there's like something that comes up, you're like, fuck, my site just went down. What should I do? I can tell you that very quickly. Last one, very last one. What is this? Ask Will Mosley, what is the real reason that education isn't respected anymore? Education isn't respected anymore because everyone's educated. Everyone has the resources. It's a fair level playing field now. YouTube really has fostered this, where you can share quality content, you can share what you Team Treehouse, so TEAM, tree, like a tree, house, like a house. Teamtreehouse.com. You should be able to get like a free trial there or whatever. It's well worth it, and it keeps track of stuff. Like, they have like the instructors are really good. Like, it's all film related, and then they quiz you. Definitely Team Treehouse, and they have filmmaking probably too on there. Anyways, back to the question at hand. It's a level playing field now. It's fair for everyone, which makes it harder for everyone because everyone has an opportunity now versus just the people that could pay for college. Like, you can literally, no problem, bro. You literally can learn whatever the hell you want to. Look up freaking how to bake gingerbread cookies, and there it is on YouTube. You're the person stopping you. You decide whether you want to learn and take that extra time. It is here, 3:46 a.m. in the morning. I have to leave the house at 7 a.m. to get to work at 8 a.m. where I'll work till 4:30, which I'll get home at 5:30 p.m. It's just a matter of drive. Like, what do you love? What do you really love? And do that for the rest of your life, and therefore it won't be work. And give your shit away for free. Like, that was a big shift for me too. I have all these secrets I can keep, whatever. Everyone can learn, you can literally Google whatever the hell you want to nowadays. And it's just gonna keep on getting more and more saturated with good information. That's why I say, if you don't have to, if you're not gonna be a brain surgeon, don't go to college. Just go on YouTube, and you'll save yourself a lot of money. I wish I did that in the first place. I wish that was like in place. Tools that I was using before YouTube was around was smashingmagazine.com, and just Barnes & Noble. All right, dope. So I know this is a long one. Thank you, bro, for sticking around to the very end. I know this is like taking setup time, all that, but hey, I'm doing several different things right here. This is kind of like closing up. I'm learning how to use Facebook Live because I want to connect with you guys on a live basis and also show you a little bit behind the scenes of what I do. I want to motivate myself and drive myself to do a little bit more. And then up here, up top on the film camera, which if you're wondering what that image ended up turning out to be, 2 seconds. Let's see if this will work. Can you see that? It's like, you know, I can't tell if you're actually able to see that right now, but whatever. Dope. Boss up. So when will I be doing this again? I'm aiming for a daily, but I know that right now my goal is to have this whole thing done and filmed by 3 a.m. so that I have an hour to edit. So let's aim for an every other day type of thing. I'm glad I could share some knowledge, man. Use the hashtag AskWillMosley, M-O-S-L-E-Y. I will answer those questions first next time I come on here, so I'll have a little bit more to give, and I think the setup time will be much less now that I know how to work this fucking thing. All right, dope guys, have a good night, a good evening, a good morning, whatever it is. I'm gonna import this footage and close my eyes for like 2 hours and then jump back up and do another real will. Peace, guys.